A good midday Saturday to you. This is the Vermont Weather Hazards Outlook for utilities. This is valid the rest of today, Saturday, through next Friday, January the 8th. Well, no real issues this weekend. We do have an Arctic front that will be moving through on Sunday. This will be followed by a very cold dome of higher pressure. This will deliver the coldest air mass so far this winter season. That's not saying so much, but we will experience Arctic chill with below zero temperatures, but also some decent, crisp but dry project weather conditions Monday through Thursday of this week. The biggest utility weather concern will arrive on Friday, just beyond this period into Saturday, with a moderately strong area of low pressure approaching the region, splitting in two. The potential for multiple precipitation types will move on in. That would include potentially some freezing rain and some wet snow. Doesn't look like a huge issue, but something we'll have to watch. Southeasterly gradient winds will also be developing along the western slopes of the Green Mountains at that point. We'll be watching it very carefully, but it has lowered confidence this far out. We're looking at a broad picture right now and taking a look at the Pacific. A couple things stand out here. We have a ridge of higher pressure that's developed. This is the positive version of the North PNA, plus PNA, Pacific North American Ridge. And it's kind of giving us a little bit of a break in the action, and it's steering the Arctic, the northern branch of the jet stream, the polar branch, really coming into our neck of the woods. And this is delivering some colder air with that Arctic front that is now crossing through parts of Hudson Bay or a little bit south, and that'll be working in during the day on Sunday. Beyond it, an area of higher pressure will build in and give us that great weather. One of the things, though, we're seeing that sort of south and north flow off the western coast with that Pacific North American Ridge. The other thing we're looking at is a lot of disturbed weather. This over in the central and western subtropical Pacific. Here's Hawaii, south of Hawaii. Noticing the subtropical jet streams starting to get a little bit better established again, blowing across parts of Mexico, the southern U.S., and that is kind of typical of El Nino, and then out to into the Atlantic Ocean, and this time more into Europe instead of north of Europe. A little closer in, looking at the flow, the 500 millibar flow. This is an upper level system that's moved into southern portions of Oregon, Northern California. And you can see the subtropical jet stream with the flow here moving across the southern tier areas of the U.S., as well as the northern branch, the polar branch of the Arctic Express, you might say, is going to be dropping in. And this is what's cooled us off. The temperature schemes, again, relative winter, relative non-winter across parts of the southeast United States. Over the course of the next 36 to 48 hours, this has been the flow here. Lake effect snows coming in off of east of Lake Ontario as well as Lake Huron, Georgian Bay, and affecting portions of Vermont. You can see the temperatures are warm enough over the lakes, actually producing rain. Of course, interior sections away from the lakes, cold enough to support snow. And there's been some pretty good snowfall amounts. This is the Arctic front that will be moving through during the day tomorrow. You can see the precipitation type changes a little bit over to rain. And so this will be a little bit of a light, wet snow in some of our local valleys, but for the most part, not too worried. Don't really have any worries. Relative light precipitation and very fluffy snowfall in those areas that remain colder. So this is our Arctic front. You can see it coming down south of Hudson Bay, spins up an area of low pressure in the northern Great Lakes region, and then tracks it through our region. This will be working in during the day on Sunday. This is valid about 7 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, and then 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and then 7 p.m. Sunday evening. You can see that lighter precipitation coming really off the Great Lakes, and cold enough for all snow all the time. However, this area of higher pressure will build in and shut off the snow machine, and as it does so, we're seeing this relatively stronger area of higher pressure build back in, and this is going to be giving us some pretty fine weather. Now we'll see some pretty cold temperatures with this. Temperatures may go below zero and as much as 10 to 20 degrees below zero in those areas that have adequate snow cover, and we'll be checking that out in a second. But you can see 1037 millibar area of higher pressure located over southwestern Pennsylvania. This will be valid about 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Tuesday. And this evolution of this area of higher pressure then stretches out to the south of our region, but allows enough of a ridge to keep us guarded until as we get into Friday morning. We're looking at a little bit of precipitation, but also a warm frontal activity. And this warm air advection, it looks like it's going to be approaching the area. It looks like on really Friday night into Saturday. And there could be some south easterly flow with some downsloping winds in this particular location, but along the western slopes. But it doesn't look too bad, but mixed precipitation types are definitely a possibility. So even with the Arctic front, what we're looking at is generally about a quarter of an inch up to about a half inch of total precipitation for this period here going out for the next 7 days. This will be valid through next Saturday, about 7 o'clock in the morning. Taking a look at temperature, well, we can see that it's above normal, in some cases relatively high above normal, 12 degrees, but we've neutralized with the cold shot of air for the early part of the week, so that's weighted and balanced out to be near normal. As we moderate toward the end of the week and with a warm surge coming in, we're looking at temperatures once again going above the normal. And back to snow accruing. Well, we can see the Great Lakes here. This is the Arctic front. Moves on through during the day on Sunday, then kind of washes out. You can see lake effect snows into some parts of the Ohio River Valley. Then we clear on out. We get dry weather, high pressure builds on in. This is how cold it'll get. Temperatures down to around 32 degrees in the deep south. And then we start to see a bit of a warm-up. This is a storm system that will then deliver, try to push in some warmer air. This will move in for Friday. And we can see some heavier snowfalls as we get into basically Saturday and over this next weekend. This will be a mixed precipitation bag, so some of these snowfalls may not be accurate. Lower confidence. Centered on Montpelier, looking at the hourly temperatures, daily temperatures, you can see that maxes today basically in the low 30s, and nighttime temperatures around 25. And then on Sunday, we're going right back up into the lower 30s once again. And then a pretty dramatic temperature fall. This is when the Arctic front will be moving through. That Arctic air delivery. Not necessarily very strong winds, although there'll be some channeling winds in the Champlain Valley. But we'll see a pretty significant temperature drop to around 5 to near 0 degrees in the single digits. And then overnight below 0. In some cases, I think on Tuesday morning, we might even see temperatures 10 to 20 degrees below in a few spots. That's being advertised currently by the European model. We rebound in temperature into the low teens, and then another cold night expected really on Wednesday morning, but not as cold, single digits, and then temperatures climb back, and we incrementally get warmer over time. As we head toward Friday, you can see temperatures generally in that realm of the lows in the teens, and daytime highs right back up into the mid-30s, going above the freezing mark as we head toward Friday afternoon. And looking at some of the climate stations or snowfall over the past 7 days, my location in Worcester has had the most in the state. I think that's been equaled by the Mount Mansfield report as well. 7 inches up in the upper areas, highlands of the Northeast Kingdom, and we see the least amounts in the Champlain Valley as well as the Connecticut River Valley as to be expected. And we're looking back here before the new year, and we can see that the current forecast here brings us, pushes a lot of that moisture off to the south of us, but later in the week we might see that a little bit of a return. This is the last weather system that moved on through, and then we get to the forecast right here. So a different change here as we finally have a northwesterly flow across the eastern part of North America, and subsequently it's a big change from these southerly flows that have been coming out ahead of this sort of an El Nino pattern. That's it from here. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights.